Hey everyone, it's Kathleen at Crafts by Kathleen. I am trying to go back to the new format that Bill had set up for me so that I can do these videos just a little bit better. So forgive me if I mess up. It's been a while since I did it this way. I usually use my phone camera. So he's got me set up here. I've got a camera so that you can see what's going on my workspace, and then there's a picture of me so you can see what I'm thinking of too. So let's hang in together and see what we can do. All right. So today I wanted to go over something that we do every month. It's called Card Social, and it's kind of like Cards and Coffee on steroids. So the reason I say that is Cards and Coffee is usually a nice flat card, and you're able to get it done in about a half hour or so. And then of course you're going to be talking to friends, and then we've got a lot of stamping that we have to share and all like that. What we do at Card Social is we do a bit of a fun fold, or we do something just a little bit more elaborate. So this week we learn how to make these pennant cards. So these are usually like a banner, a pennant banner that you hang up. So these cards have that kind of a cut in the front. So it's not necessarily the fold that's fun, but it's a fun little cut that we do here, and then we decorated it. If you remember last week we made this slider card, this fun fold card that used the Scrapbook Supply Company paper that we put this locking mechanism on so that you can slide it on and off to open it. We're going to use this same paper, but we're going to be using the B side primarily. So we did use the B side a little bit on the back of the locking mechanism. So this is the second card that we're going to get out of one sheet of paper. However, I used I used the other piece of paper on this card, what was left over from making this card. So I got another piece of paper out, and we're going to make this card now. All right, so what we're going to do is we're getting a piece of 8.5 by 11 blue. This is our powder blue cardstock, and we're going to cut this. Now, instead of cutting it on the short side, now let me see if I can get this camera up just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Okay. All right, so instead of cutting on the long side so that we're making an A2 card, we're going to cut it on the short side. So we're going to cut this at 5.5 on the 8.5 inch side, so it becomes 5.5 by 11. So I'm getting out my trimmer. So this is the We Are Memory Keepers trimmer, and I am really loving it. It has a lot of nifty little parts to it. So this is the all-in-one trimmer. You can make bows, you can make boxes, you can make envelopes, all kinds of stuff with it. All right, so what we're going to do is cut this down to 5.5 by 11. Okay, so it's 11 inches by 5.5, and then I'm going to fold it in half, or you can just score it right there at 5.5, but it's just as easy to fold it in half. So I'm going to fold that. Let me get my big bone folder because I love this thing. Again, We Are Memory Keepers. All right, so that's folded, and then we're going to take 5.5 and we're going to measure halfway through here on the bottom of this. So this 5.5 halfway is 2 3/4. So I'm going to put this up here on my ruler, and I'm going to just put a little mark here at 2 3/4. Okay, so I've got that little tiny mark. See that? And then I'm going to cut from that mark down to the score line, okay, or where we folded it. So to do that, you have to put your paper kind of cockeyed into your trimmer, and you want to line up that dot. See this here, this line, this is where my blade's going to cut. So I'm going to line up that dot and the edge of that score. Can you see that? The edge of that score is going to get lined up in that cutting gully, and then we're going to cut it because we want to cut off both of these corners in order to make that pennant. Now, Do not try to cut through the paper that way. This is the only time that I ask you to puncture your paper instead of starting where you're supposed to. So I like to start in the center, puncture my paper, go up, and then come back down. If you try to go when your paper's not straight, sometimes it crushes the paper, it crunches it up when you go to cut it. All right, so we're going to take this off, and now we're going to turn it over, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to be cutting on the other side is where the dot is, but I know that the dot's there because that's where I cut. I'm going to get that in the cutting gully, and then I'm going to get right there where my fold is in the cutting gully. And again, oop, wait a minute, got to have it through the trimmer. Again, I'm going to puncture my paper and then go up and then come back down. All right. So you'll have this, you're going to throw that away, but then you have the card base. All right. So we've got our card base. We're going to set that aside. Now this piece that we cut off is 3 inches across. So we need a 3-inch by 3-inch square. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to cut this so that I've got my 3-inch by 3-inch square. All right, and then I'm going to set this over here with my base. And then I'm going to get my really pretty paper. So this is from the Scrapbook Supply Company. I positively love this little girl with her hat. I know that I've told you that. We used it on the other card. But we're going to use this just for the 3 by 3 inch square. However, on the other side, side B, look at all these little seashells. Look at these, the details in them. I don't know how well you can, but see those little seashells? It looks a little blurry on the camera, but it's not. It's absolutely a beautiful piece of paper. So we've got our starfish and all of our seashells. So we're going to take this and we're going to cut this down to 5 by 5.5. Yes, I understand that a 5.5 by 5.5 square, but if you want it to fit really well, you're going to trust me and do 5 by 5.5. All right, so first I call this the ticker line, this little information section here. I'm going to cut off my ticker line. All right, and I'm also going to make sure that it's 12 inches because not all manufacturers bring their papers in right at 12 inches. Sometimes they're 12 and a 16th, 12 and an 8th, and sometimes the ticker line's a little thicker on one side than it is the other, which is the case on this one. So had I cut it off, then it wouldn't have been the right size, just cutting it off. So I wanted to make sure that I was at 12 inches. All right, so we're going to take this now and we're going to cut this at 5 inches. Okay, I'm going to cut this at 5, and then I'm going to turn it onto the long side and I'm going to cut it at 5.5. Okay, now this piece here would have been enough, plenty, to do that other card, to do this card that we did, but like I said, I used my extra piece to cut this and make this card for us. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm going to get a whole other card, maybe even 2 out of that. All right, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to do the same exact thing. So this is 5 inches across. Half of it is going to be 2.5. So I'm going to take my paper, slide it up to my ruler. I'm going to put a little mark here at 2.5, and actually if you look right at 2.5, can you see that little tiny dot that I'm covering up with my pencil here and there? It's a little white dot. That's just as good as my mark because it's exactly 2.5. All right, so we're going to trim from this dot to this corner. Okay, and we're going to do it the same way. We're going to put that dot in the cutting gully and we're going to bring it down to this corner. I want to puncture my paper so that I'm not messing up my paper. And this time we're going to save these because we're going to use these on the inside of our card. And then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put that corner in the cutting gully and I'm going to put that dot in the cutting gully. Puncture my paper, go up and down, save my corner. Now I want to show you where we're going to put it. Okay, it's going to fit right in there. And see, we've got a little bit of an edge, a little bit of an edge. So this is going to fit really nice. All right. Actually, I'm wondering, I think I want to trim about 1/4 of an inch off the top. So I'm going to go right here. And I'm going to trim 1/4 of an inch. And then, I don't know why it worked. Well, that's why, because see, I didn't make as big of a margin there. I kind of like the larger margin on it. So I trimmed off 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to take my template and I'm going to change my 5 1/2 to 5 1/4. Okay, so that from now on I'll have my template with the correct measurement on it, because I think I'm going to like that a little bit better. And then when I go to make this card again and I pull this template out, I'll go, oh, okay, 5 1/4. I won't even think about that 5 1/2. But what I do with these templates is I take a piece of scrap that's left over on the decorative card, and then I put it in a little envelope, and then that way I have the card and I label it, so, and then I try to keep them in alphabetical order, and I call this a pennant card. So when I'm ready to make a pennant card again, I'll just look up pennant card and I'll take it out and I'll go, oh yeah, there's all my measurements, there's the paper that I liked with it. So just a little tidbit of information for you. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this down, and I always like to dry fit it before I do any gluing. All right, and yep, I like that much better. I've got the larger border now. It looks really good. All right, I'm going to put glue on the back of my decorative cardstock. We're going to glue that down. Making sure I'm nice and even all the way across. All right, and then I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to take these 2 corners that we cut off, and I'm going to put them right here in the corner. So part of the trick for this card is that you want to use paper cardstock that's non-directional. So these shells are really non-directional. And again, I'm going to cut off 1/4 of an inch because that 5 1/2 was just a little too long. It should be 5 1/4. However, I did 5 1/2 with the other one, but I want this to be perfect because I have somebody in mind I want to send this to for her birthday. All right, so we're going to put these in, right? Yeah, that's much better. And then that gives us a nice little border here too. All right, so we're going to put these in on the sides there. There's one. Use my bone folder to really press it down. And then get my other one out. Try fit it in there. Make sure it fits. Put that down. All right, now see, it's got a nice little border. Goes all the way down, and it's got a border going around. Now, you can leave this blue here, or you can get a scrap piece of white cardstock and cut it down. We're going to do the 5 inches up just a little over 5, so I'm going to trim this. We're going to do the 5 inches by 5 1/4. And then we're going to cut off the corners again, the same way we did before. So we're going to go to 2 1/2. We're going to put that little dot. We're going to put this in the cutting gully all the way to the corner. We're going to puncture our paper. Cut. We don't need these corners. All right, put that corner up there. Put the dot there. Puncture the paper. All right, and then I'm just going to erase this here. even though I'm going to turn it over and use the other side. All right, let's see how that fits. Ah, beautiful. So I'm not going to adhere this because I really am thinking of sending this to somebody for their birthday. So I'm going to wait until I stamp the inside of this with a birthday sentiment, and then I'm going to glue it down, because just my luck, I'll glue it down and then I'll go to stamp it and it'll be crooked. So let's see if I have a birthday sentiment up here that I want to use. Let's see. Oh, happy birthday to you. That sounds good. All right, and I've got my block here. I'm just going to put this down on here. I've got my Gina K black onyx ink here. All right, now this is a little bit different. I don't think that I've ever really stamped on a triangle, so let's hope that I do this just right. All right, let's get my happy birthday to you inked up. All right, and I'm gonna right here, hopefully it's in the center. All right, cross your fingers, guys. How's it look? I think it's all right. A little light there. I should have pressed down a little bit more. Do I want to try again? I am. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try again. All right, let's try this one more time. I want to make this nice and straight so that I can get it. All right, and I've got, not straight enough. All right, in the center. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Much better. Much, much better. All right. I always try to keep birthday sentiments on my desk here, so I always have something that I can stamp with happy birthday, because you know as well as I do, birthday cards are our most used stamps. All right. So now I'm going to glue it in. I'm going to glue this in now since I've got it all set. All right, so I'm using this side, the darker side. See this side, the Y is a little bit messed up. So we're going to put the glue on that side. You know, we never make a mistake. If paper's got two sides, we've got two chances to get it right. All right. And then we're just going to place this right in here. Get it straight. Okay. And we've got that down. Now let's get our 3" by 3" square out, and then we're going to take this piece that we've got here, and I want to cut 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, but I want the little girl in my cut. So I'm going to put the happy birthday, let's see here, kind of in the center, so maybe she should be up a little high. So I'm going to try here. Let's see what we've got. All right, so 2 1/2 is here, so 2 3/4 is here, and that looks like it's about giving her a centered piece. All right, so I'm going to turn it this way and cut it at 2 3/4 because I'm keeping her. So I want to keep that right there, and then if it's not right, I've got her right under there to work with. Okay, so that's 2 3/4. Now since I'm using her, I'm going to turn it this way, 2 3/4. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's get this glued on here. Nice and centered. There we go. Use my bone folder to mash that glue into the paper. Get it adhered. Then I've got my little happy birthday sentiments in my drawer here. Let's see. I've got kind of a cursive script there. And then I also have more of a block one. Now I use the block one on this one, and it looks nice. Let's see, what would it look like with the cursive on it? I don't know, that looks kind of pretty too. I think I'm going to use the cursive. Yeah, I think I'm going to use the cursive. So what I'm going to do is, see this little corner here? Instead of wasting it, I'm going to use that to make the shadow background for my happy birthday sentiment. I'm going to put this one back. And all I do is I take my my sentiments and I print out a great big list of all of the sentiments, and I keep them on the computer. So I've got happy birthday, happy anniversary, get well soon, and I put them in a couple of different scripts, and then when I need them, I have them ready to go. So that's what I did. I took a couple of sheets of my happy birthdays and I cut them up, and look at this, I'm a mess already. I got ink all over me. But I keep them in my little organizer over here by my desk, and then when I'm making a card, I know that I've always got happy birthdays there. All right, so, oh, and this looks kind of nice because inside the To You is kind of the same looking script there, font. All right, so we're going to use this to make our little thing. So what I like to do is I just take my sentiment. I got a glue boogie on there. Okay, oop, I'm making a mess with this glue. Put it in the trash can. There we go. All right, so we're just going to take the glue, put a little glue on the back of the sentiment, and then I always try to put it into a corner. That way I know that I've got two nice straight edges. All right, so I'm going to put it right here into this corner. Okay, got that down. Then I'm going to bring it to my trimmer. And I'm going to kind of eyeball how far away that is from how far away I'm going to do that. And this is still not straight, so I'm going to kind of go up. Now it's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. I'm not going to stress over it. And then I'm going to turn it and do the same thing here. Now this one, my paper's straight again, so I can just cut right through. And there we go. See how easy that was? That is a little bit wide. I think I'm going to grab my guillotine to do this. Put that in there because I just want to take a little bit off. Okay. And here's another little trick. If you can't reach your paper there to move it or anything, I take a Post-it note and I put whatever it is that's tiny that I'm trying to cut right there on the Post-it note, and then that way I can have better control of it. There we go, much better. See the difference? And see how easy it was to control it holding on to it with the Post-it note? And I just put my Post-it note back on the tablet because, you know, I use them for everything. All right, so let's get rid of the guillotine. Let's get rid of our trimmer. And let's put our card together. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that go. I will call them back when I'm finished. We're going to glue this right here to the edge of the card, but I want to bring it up. I don't want it right to this edge, so I want to bring it up just a little bit so that this is poking out, because see how nice it looks with the blue going around it. So then I'm going to lift it up, all right, and I'm going to put my glue on the actual pennant part, because when I lifted it up, if you watched, I kind of just folded it up so I know where I'm gluing, because I don't want to put glue all over the back of this, because then it'll adhere to here. So I want it right here on the pennant part. So I'm just going to put glue there. Then I'm going to take my 3x3 square that we've got, and I'm going to adhere that there. Okay, making that nice and straight. Then I'm going to take some pop dots and I'm going to flip over my sentiment. I'm going to put a few pop dots on the back. Now the pop dots, it doesn't matter because this is going on the square that's already down here, so I'll put the pop dots all the way across my sentiment. This is going to go in the mail, so I'm probably going to put 5 pop dots on. I know that's excessive. Usually I would only do 3, but I kind of don't want it to get smushed when it goes through the machine. All right, so let's peel this off. Someone was telling me that they think that these Pop Dots are kind of hard compared to some other brands. And to me, these little tiny circle Pop Dots, these backs come off so much easier than some of the other brands. The other ones I need to use my pick tool. All right, so now we're just going to take, I like this little guy too. I don't want to cover that up. So I'm just going to bring this up just a little bit, not quite centered, but right there. All right, and then I've got some sequins here. And I don't know that I want to use them, but I'm going to try. I've got some blues and, well, actually, no, these are purples, pinks, greens, but I've got these little white ones. No, I don't really care for them, so I'm not going to do it. I don't need to overdo it. All right, that's it. All right, then I'm going to turn this over. Since I'm giving this card out, it's not a card that I'm selling. Since I'm going to give this card out, let's put that sequence back. I'm going to use my little stamp that says Made from the Heart, Crafts by Kathleen. All right, and I'm going to ink that up. And then I'm going to place it right here in the center of my card. Okay, and it's all done. It's all ready. It's going to go in the mail. Now I've got sequins all over the place. Do you see this? I even got one in my ink pad. Oh my golly. Ugh, I'm a mess. I'm a mess. All right, guys. Now she's done. Let me throw these backings out before I have them all over the place. All right. So here we go. So this is the card that we made at Card Social. And you notice it's a little bit more elaborate compared to what we do at Cards and Coffee. Cards and Coffee in May is going to one time a day because, you know, all of our snowbirds are heading back up north and we're going to miss them. However, I'm going to be traveling a lot this summer, so I'm going to be doing a lot of the expos, and I know my ladies that are up in the Michigan, Chicago, central north kind of part of the country there are looking forward to going to the Schaumburg Expo, and fingers crossed I've got everything together for that. Hopefully I'll be teaching 3 classes there, and this card, like other classes that are here, I'm going to be doing live on Facebook and then uploading them to YouTube so that they can still be a part of the shop and get their Cards and Coffee fix. This one was for Card Social. I believe it's this weekend, we have our kit class, so I'll be doing some wood cutting. We're actually going to, instead of doing a card front from the Cricut, making the kits with, we're going to use wood from the Glowforge, and we're going to put together a front that you can either use as a little plaque or a decorative piece in your house, or you can put it on a card front. Not necessarily something I would try to send in the mail. However, the wooden cards are really pretty, and they're wonderful if you're just giving them out. So that's everything from me today. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me this afternoon, and if you're watching me on replay, I appreciate you taking the time to look me up and find me. If you don't mind, give me a like, a love, a whatever it is, and if I made you angry, give me an angry face, and then let me know why, because I want to make these better. So anything that you have that I can improve upon, just let me know. And if you're watching me on YouTube, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But if you give me a thumbs down, just make sure in the comments you let me know what it was that you thought that I didn't do well, and I will definitely take your comments and your information and apply it to what I do in the future so that I can make some good videos for you. So my goal in life is to inspire the creativity that's already within you, and I hope that I have today. So get out some cardstock and some of those half sheets of paper that you used on one card and you have some left over, and maybe make a card. One of these pennant cards is great. I'll see you all again real soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.